Hello everyone, this is the Spirit Man. Just a couple days ago I came back from seeing a new movie that was just released on Friday, In the Alternate Universe That Is Yours. You'll see what that's all about eventually if you catch a bit of it in the other videos. The movie I saw was The Kid Who Would Be King, and I didn't expect too much from a movie like this based on what I've seen in the trailers and such over the past few months, I think. It was a few months ago, actually, when I was just watching YouTube stuff on my iPad, and then this trailer came up on one of the videos I was watching, and I was almost immediately intrigued by it because, as the trailer kept going on, it showed this kid connected to King Arthur legends, and best of all, he was literally training his entire school to become knights to fight this great evil and all. And as this trailer kept going on, I was like, this is really cool. This looks like it's going to be really cool. I think I should definitely see this or give it a chance. And I did, and I thought it was very good. And I'll explain more in detail later. This is going to be the first of many, Spirit Vlogs of new releases, new movie releases of 2019 and so on and so forth in the future. But of course, for my own Spirit Man character per se, that this would somewhat conflict with alternate realities, dimensions, and so on. But Spirit Man is going to do it nonetheless because he's really interested to see what's coming out new, what new stuff is coming out for our friends of 2019 in the alternate universe. Okay, I'm not going to go into that anymore. But yes, I did see The Kid Who Would Be King, and it was very good. And let's just get started with the story and all. So, in a lot, I should flat out say in a lot of ways, this movie does have a lot of problems. Not too many, I would say, but the beginning of the movie alone was a bit of an issue with me because even though the animation, the illustrations and so forth were nice of this background story of King Arthur and Morgana and etc., I felt like it was very rushed, which is ironic because it was a minute and a half or two, and plenty of other films have told stories told backstories really well in that amount of time, and I don't know, it's just something about the way this story was being told was just going. It just kept going really, really fast. On to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. But it was still good. It was still really good overall. It tells the basic backstory of King Arthur himself, how he ascended to the throne following his predecessor, King Arthur, I think, and I have no idea if that was the actual name of the previous king in King Arthur legends or whatever, and that before he rose to power, the entire Britain land, Britannia, whatever, was greatly divided. It was leaderless, and there was civil war, heavy civil war of all these people trying to get the throne until King Arthur ascended, made his enemies his allies, and so forth. And his greatest enemy was his half-sister, I believe, Morgana Le Fay, however you want to say it. I'll just say Morgana. After fighting a great battle against her to take her down, she said, when the land is leaderless and on the verge of war again, I will return and take the land for myself and take Excalibur. And Arthur literally says, and the sword will return too. And then we start in the modern day, and we meet our protagonist, Alex. Don't remember his last name. He's he's a lonely boy with only one friend. Jeez, I should have looked up how to pronounce this dude's name because I can't. Or no, maybe that was the medieval counterpart, but whatever. Bethers. I'll just call him Bethers for now. I'm sure that's inaccurate, but that's just what I'll go for now. He and his best friend Bethers are, literally among the lowest people, social class people at their I don't know what if it's a British middle school or high school, or if it's a transcending school of middle and high school. I have no idea how the British education system works. Um, and not only are they in the lowest social class, but they are picked on by the two rulers of the schools, per se, named Lance and Kay, which of course is supposed to allude to Lancelot and Kay of the Round Table, though I know little to nothing about King Arthur legend. You know, I read some stuff when I was a kid and thought it was pretty cool, including the story with Morgana and her evil apprentice and so forth, and Merlin and all that, but I quickly grew out of it. I just did not care. I quickly did not care as I grew older. I never was the biggest fan with The Sword and the Stone when it came to Disney, so that's that. Alex is a single parent kid, of course, because we have to have that. And I will admit this movie does a good job of building intensity as to whether his father's dead or they're just divorced or whatnot, at least in the beginning parts. Alex, he stands up to Lance and Kay, fights them when they're picking on his best friend Bethers. And even though that ruins his science project or whatever, he's still proud that he stood up for his best friend, even though his mother and the head mistress of the school disapproves and all that. Like, she literally says the world is getting tougher and you need to get tougher with it and whatnot. And let's see what happens next. Then there's a new kid who comes into high school right after. Well, I should have said this. We see these announcements in the background about how apparently Britain is getting more and more politically divisive and so forth. They don't go into too much detail, probably for obvious reasons, so they don't complicate the story too much. And which of course means that this means Morgana is going to return. You have these kind of awkward shots, short scenes of underground showing this underworld that Morgana inhabits. Morgana and all her evil dead army. And they're talking about, the time has come, I shall rise again. It was cool and all, but it was really rushed and kind of sloppily put together, in my opinion. And then we see the new kid, this new teenager who comes to school, and he hypnotizes, brainwashes people into giving him what he wants in order to enroll in the school, with this fancy hand doohickey thing, which I have no idea if this is supposed to be relevant to real magic or whatnot. Jesus, I'm skipping ahead here. He does this after Alex and Bethers come across a sword in a construction site, well, not construction site, in an abandoned building, an abandoned and destroyed building where the sword is in this stone. And Alex takes it out and takes it home and has no idea that this is, of course, Excalibur, because Arthur put it there when the time was right and said that only the once and future king would take it, would be able to take it. And I think it was around this time that we saw Morgana and her demons talking too, but whatever. We see the new kid, his name is Merton, which of course is supposed to allude to Merlin. And, he starts class and he's being all creepy and stalky towards Alex and Bethers. And when they're having a science class one day, the teacher briefly mentions an upcoming solar eclipse, and Merton freaks out saying, When did you... upcoming solar eclipse? When is this upcoming solar eclipse? About 4 or 5 days, I'd say. 4 days? 4 or 5 days? Oh, God. We need to get ready now. He pulls no punches and makes announcements to everyone that Alex pulled the sword out of the stone, and he's your once and future king, and so forth. And Alex and Bethers do the sensible thing and try to stay the hell away from this kid, because he's clearly out of his freaking mind and whatever. But that very night, the night before Alex intends to return the stones, and it's causing a lot of trouble, he's suddenly attacked by an undead knight, covered in smoke and fire and so forth, has a sword and all, tries to kill him. And Alex, being untrained and undisciplined, he's easily overpowered by this guy, but he's saved by Merlin, who takes the form of an owl, does a little magic, and then hurries away after saving Alex because his powers are very weak under total nightfall. If he does too much during nightfall, he will die. He tells Alex this, and he tells him, "Meet me at this fast food restaurant as soon as possible." And this means he has to skip school and all. So yeah, this movie's kind of crazy the more I think about it, but it's also kind of awesome in the best way. Alex, as soon as the morning hits, Alex contacts Bethers, and says we got to meet Merton, and we got to go on this quest. And amazingly enough, this is after Alex and Bethers play around with the sword, where Alex pretends to knight Bethers, but he doesn't realize he's literally knighting Bethers, which is all for the better. So they meet Merton at this fast food place that literally has the ingredients. The fast food itself has the ingredients that Merton needs in order to survive, and and because the fast food has like bits of this animal's blood and this animal's urine and this animal's skin or something, I don't know. It was hilarious. This movie is hilarious, I gotta say. I mean, I was laughing so many times when I was in the theater, and this is a freaking kids movie, so that's kind of amazing. Because, you know, like any adult, it gets harder and harder to laugh at kids stuff in kids movies, unless it's done right. So they meet Merlin, who explains the Arthur backstory, and that Morgana's going to return and all, but Alex and Bethers says, of course, he's crazy, or at least he's crazy to trust them to finish what began centuries ago. But just as they leave, Merton, taking the form of his older self, his adult self, which is Patrick Stewart, and you heard Patrick Stewart's voice narrating in the beginning and all, he shows the horrible visions of everyone being enslaved, and it's literally hell everywhere. Everywhere, buildings are on fire, and smoke's everywhere and stuff. And you see Patrick Stewart being so freaking crazy, like, it's just hilarious. I wanted to laugh the whole way. "You cannot deny destiny! You must stop Morgana! Stop her before it's too late!" And it reminded me a lot of Lord of the Rings, when like Frodo sees Sam and the Merry and Pippin, if I'm remembering that right, being enslaved, and because Alex and Bethers see themselves in chains and as slaves, and like so you know, after seeing these horrible things, Alex and Bethers are like, okay, we'll do it, but how are we gonna do it? Well, you must knight people first, and you must find this and that. I mean, I know I just saw this a couple days ago, and I shouldn't have waited this long to make this vlog, but still kind of hard to remember exactly what goes on and certain specifics. But I think first, Alex and Bethers first go back to the destroyed building site where the stone was, and you know, they start looking for clues. And while they're there, they are harassed once again by Lance and Kay. And Alex realizes that even though they're bullies and total jackasses, he's got to knight them under the present circumstances so they can help them fight the evil and all that. So Lance and Kay reluctantly agree just so they can bully him more, of course, but, you know, Alex knights them, and then the undead knights attack. Merlin said earlier that when night falls over the next few days, more and more undead knights and horses and such are going to appear, and they're going to try to kill Alex and Bethers and his friends. And this is the second night, and now there's like 3 or 4, maybe 5 of them that go after all 4 of the kids. You know, now it's Alex, Bethers, Lance, and Kay, and they like... I think it was Lance who drives around and leads the knights into these traps and stuff that easily kills them. This is one of my biggest problems with the movie. Even though the knights themselves, the undead knights, look cool and all, the fight sequences with them, the action sequences in general, is just ridiculously censored. You know, I mean, I don't know if they were that desperate for just a PG rating or whatever this movie has, but you know, the way these knights get killed off like that, like all they do is they get tricked into hitting a lamppost, or they get tricked into hitting another car or whatever. Like, come on, it's just ridiculous. Especially considering that the main character has a fucking sword to fight them. He could easily have impaled them or slashed them enough times, whatever. You know, you don't need to have blood or gore or whatever. You could have easily had like, I don't know, a magma colored cut or something, and then the evil knights would disappear or something. You could have easily made the action more appealing, especially for older audiences and all that. I don't know. I mean, I really hate how certain kids' movies and shows are just desperate for censorship. Like they think even just a little bit of blood is going to leave a traumatic effect on kids or something. I don't know. Whatever. I'm sure there's plenty of censorship issues that are ridiculous and overthought and whatever. Let's see. What was the other thing? Oh, that's right. When the knights show up and do their evil thing, all time stops. All time stops like that, and all living things disappear. Well, or at least all humans disappear. I don't exactly remember why or how, but it was interesting. And so, and when the kids have killed the knights, because they have to destroy the knights in order to break the time spell, whatever that they cast. Well, as soon as they do, no wait, now I remember it was Kay who's driving. Kay was driving, and as soon as they destroy the evil knights, there's this like middle old lady in the driver's seat underneath Kay who looks up and goes, "Ah!" And the kids are screaming, "Ah!" And of course, because time is continuing and all these cars are coming out of nowhere, they're like, holy shit, what the fuck's going on? There's a bunch of stupid kids in that car. They all run out and get away, and I was pretending to be the old lady. I was going, "Blasted kids!" It was all good and all. I keep forgetting to say, I also keep forgetting this, thinking back on the movie, but apparently the Evil Dead Knights are like the corrupted souls of past knights that were killed centuries ago, I think. Like their souls were corrupted, or they were forced to be under Morgana's control all these centuries. They don't really do much with that sort of idea, with that sort of concept, but it's interesting how that plays out. Though I'm sure some of them, if not a lot of them, have been loyal to Morgana from the very start. So, Lance and Kay now realizing at first they're reluctant to help out, but, you know, Alex and Bethers, with Alex's special King Arthur book that explains everything they need to know pretty much, he convinces them, look, Destiny has decided this, and look at the table we're at. It's a rectangle table, so they have to pull out the sides so that it's a circle. It's a round table, which I thought was another hilarious joke. It was actually well timed and well done. Will you help me? Lance and Kay reluctantly agree, but what they don't know, what the Alex and Bethers don't know, is as Morgana's watching, Morgana reveals to the audience, the Lance boy will try to steal the sword away for himself, and Kay will go right along with him. And of course, the kids realize, oh, Lance must be Lancelot, and Kay must be Lady Kay. I don't know who Lady Kay is, to be honest. I don't know. I'm sorry. I have to say at this point, Alex is a very likable character, definitely at this point. He is very realist at first. You know, he tries to do the realistic thing to stay out of it, but, you know, as he experiences more and learns more, he easily accepts that this is what he has to do. This is his destiny, and there's no turning back. And maybe he likes it and hates it simultaneously. Maybe he just full out likes it all the way. I don't know. And Bethers was very optimistic, and he's he's the magician, the wizard of the group, or the wannabe magician and wizard of the group. So I liked him too. I liked his optimism and all, and how nice he was. And he's apparently supposed to be the counterpart of some fellow named Baravir or something. And apparently Merlin's trying to teach him some magic tricks too while this is all going on. I can't remember. I think Alex returns home one last time, but then leaves home behind, and leaves a note for his mom saying, gone on a quest to save Britain, don't worry. And the mother's like, oh Jesus, what am I gonna do? And she did find the sword earlier. She found the sword in Alex's lap, and it tries to force him to give it up, but he's like, nope. I know this is insane, but I have to do what I have to do. So, bye-bye, I gotta skip school. I might come back later. And he takes the sword and hides it under a red blanket or whatever. And this was before he met up with Merlin and told off Merlin, before Merlin told him off and so forth. Let's see here. So over the next couple days, the four of them have to travel together, go to these parts in Europe to find these clues and pieces as to now I remember, they have to find out where the entrance to the underworld is so they can face Morgana and take her down. And while they're doing this, Merlin is training them, and he uses these trees. He puts an enchantment on these trees to train them. But Morgana corrupts the trees into trying to kill them, and into tempting Lance to do his evil thing, which he does at first. He takes Excalibur away, which is at the time when all four of them have their own swords, because I think, Merlin uses a duplication spell to clone Excalibur, though I assume the Excalibur copies are nowhere as powerful as Excalibur itself. I assume they never made that clear, and Lance's whole stealing plan backfires when the trees almost kill him and try to take the sword away. Then I think Merlin barely manages to save them, and then nightfall comes and he has to scurry away, or else he'll be killed if he stays around nightfall for too long and all that. And Alex tells off Lance saying, you think you're so powerful, but you're just scared. You're just a coward who thinks he has to be all that in order to survive or whatever. Oh yeah? And what made you king? Who made you king? But they end up getting lost in this swamp that I think comes out of nowhere because of nightfall, this swamp and mist. And Kay is definitely not as much of a jerk as she was before. She's much more apologetic and so on, but she still wants to stand by Lance no matter what. Eventually, they get on good terms again, and the kids all stand together and accept the code of chivalry that Merlin discussed about never lie. What was the other one? Embrace those you love, and a couple other ones, but I can't remember at the moment. So they all agreed to stand by each other and to continue on the quest and so forth. First, they go to Alex's aunt's house because they want to find Alex's father and see what he knows, especially since Alex's father apparently left this note in Alex's book saying, "To my once and future king, Dad." But the aunt reveals that his dad is a flat-out drunkard, and even she doesn't know where he is because after living with her for some time, he completely abandoned her, just as he abandoned Alex and his mother. And also reveals that the book that Alex has had for a long time was never his father's to begin with. His mother got that book for him, and she wrote the false note from his father. And this really upsets Alex, and at this point he put Excalibur in some other stone nearby, and all these young people try to get it, but they can't because they're not Alex. Alex is the once and future king and all. He throws the book over a cliff, and when I saw him throw the book over the cliff, I'm like, God damn it, kid. Yeah, Merlin's going to throw it back to him, isn't he? And he does after Alex has a touching chat with his knights, with his friends and all. And, Merlin throws the book back and says, he's in his adult form. He's in crazy Patrick Stewart form now. From what I've read, this is somewhat accurate, but the legend will not become complete unless you finish it, and yada yada. So then the kids buy a bunch of armor and stuff, and then eventually they track down the entrance to the underworld when they find out these abandoned ruins of medieval England are actually the former castle of Morgana herself, and they have the entrance to the underworld. They go underground, and then the other kids, the other knights, unfortunately get taken up. They get captured and taken up by all these vines, while Morgana faces Alex and tries to tempt him into surrendering the sword, to giving up, whatever, because the world is full of liars and corruption and such, and only her evil and darkness is good enough. So then Morgana takes the form of this, I don't know how to describe it, because I'm really not that familiar with these kind of monsters and stuff. She takes some sort of monster form that is part dragon or whatever, part snake, and faces off against Alex, and the fight's good and all. I guess I would say it's a little better than the action sequences with the knights and all, but it could have been better. I forgot to mention that way back, after the kids unite with each other after escaping the magic swamp and fog, whatever, they borrow some horses from this lady and says, "We'll try to get your horses back as soon as possible." And the lady's like, "What?" And the nightfall comes, and then she disappears, and the whole time spell starts again. And the kids go on this wild chase where they take out some knights, again, in some very simple, censored ways. And then they somehow or other, they lead all these evil knights to accidentally jump over a cliff. They all go over one by one, and then 10 by 10, and then it's over. It was cool, it's like good old-fashioned cliff trap and all, but yeah, God, I can't believe I missed that. That was a cool part. How did I miss that? How did I fail to mention that before? Anyway, back to the supposed climax of the film where Alex is against Morgana. He even pretends to surrender the sword to her, and Morgana gets all greedy, like, yes, the sword. And Alex is like, "Fooled ya, bitch!" And plunges the sword into her, and that supposedly kills her and causes all these rocks and stuff to bury her under rubble, and they all escape, and it seems to be over. Everybody returns home, and Alex doesn't wake up his mother, but goes straight to bed. But of course, this is not the end. Morgana gets back up and starts summoning more evil knights, I guess. And then the following morning, Merlin, what was it? No. First, all these vines suddenly appear all around town, and Alex freaks out. And Merlin approaches him saying, "Alex, you didn't finish this. You wounded Morgana, but she's still alive." "But why? How? Think, boy, think." "Oh, but I did follow the code of chivalry, didn't I? I never lied. I was I was courageous. I embraced my loved ones." Oh, apparently because he didn't confide with his mother, didn't make peaceful relations with his mother, this apparently causes Morgana to not die. You're saying that if he had the talk with his mother the previous night, she would have just died? If he had followed the code of chivalry, that Morgana would have just died and everything would be alright? I mean, wasn't the whole point of this quest supposed to be to find the underworld and kill her? There must have been some bullshit magic revolving around this code of chivalry that I didn't catch on. Whatever. Now apparently they only have, 6 hours or 4 hours to prepare for the evil night invasion. So Alex first has his talk with his mother saying, I know about what Dad was really like, and I know that you lied to me for so long, but it's okay because now I have to save the world and all. But first, let me get Excalibur from the Lady of the Lake. Lady of the Lake, give me Excalibur. Oh! I keep forgetting to mention the Lady of the Lake. The Lady of the Lake, who you never see. You only see an arm and hand. And she can come out of any body of water, apparently, around Britain in particular. She gives the sword back to Alex, who literally throws it in the lake a few times when he doesn't need it or whatever. And then he and the other friends, other knights, they have to make a plan to hold off to defeat the army and kill Morgana once and for all. But of course they can't do that unless they have an army of knights. So finally we get to the part that I was looking the most forward to when I saw the commercials and trailers. He gathers everybody and he tells them straight out, code of chivalry and all, I found Excalibur a few days ago, and I am the once and future king. I know it sounds crazy, it sounds insane, but it's true. And I can prove it. And Merlin's here and does his thing. And that pretty much proves to everyone what's going on. And apparently the teachers are brainwashed into accepting all this. You know, for being the good guys, I'm not sure brainwashing the teachers into accepting this is such a good guy thing, if you know what I mean. Everybody's reluctant at first to become knights and all that, but the teacher literally says, this is going to take place of classes today. Yeah! that convinces everybody. So then Alex knights, I guess hundreds of kids around the middle school, high school, whatever school they're in, and they start getting, they literally have 2 hours. 2 fucking hours before the solar eclipse comes and everybody's fucked. And Merlin, because it's not total nightfall necessarily, Merlin can actually help in the fight, more or less. And there's no way they could have done all this in 2 hours. They set up all these traps and they get all these weapons and stuff and so forth. Even with the duplication spell that I mentioned earlier that Berthers uses to duplicate all these swords and all these shields and stuff. It's just simple logic, guys. You cannot do that all in just 2 hours. It would have made more sense if we had probably 5 or 6 hours or even more, but still. I think Alex has a last talk with Merlin, and then and then nightfall comes, well, the solar eclipse comes, and then there's this cool battle where everybody fights the knights and stuff, and after some more stupid censored killing and all, we get these big battles in the gym and all, where people are fighting the knights with the swords and the shields, and they're plunging the swords in the knights and killing them, and I'm like, yes, this is more like it. And then it's over like that, and thinking back and now, thinking about how all that epic fighting was over like that, I was like, I'm thinking to myself, that's it. And Morgana confronts Merlin on the roof of the school, an army of children. Did you think I would show mercy? Nope. But these children have more good and power than you ever will, Morgana. And Alex and friends face Morgana, and she, after briefly fighting her in her human-esque form, she takes the form of a much gianter snake dragon thing than what we had before. I mean, that's the other thing. For some reason, we barely see Morgana in her humanish form. She almost always appears in this demon-like form, whatever, which is cool and all. But they didn't need to use this demon form that much, to be honest. For some reason, the Hell Army is just waiting outside the school, but it's not attacking anymore. And eventually, Alex and friends are able to summon this black hole that weakens Morgana and allows Alex to deliver the killing blow and cutting her head off. And once she's dead, when she falls into the black hole dead and stuff, and the whole Hell Army is erased, and everything, the solar eclipse ends, and everything is back to normal. All the kids hold Alex up like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. And is this going to be real? Are we going to pretend like none of this happened? Or what? I don't know. It just ends. And And then the last scene, which was a really weird way to have a last scene for this kind of movie, Alex throws the sword again to the Lady of the Lake, who takes it away. And the kids, the main children, the main characters have one last talk with Merlin. And I think Kay and Lance, or maybe it was just Kay, they literally, this felt like a PSA crap at this point, where Kay's like, but Britain is still falling under leadership political leaderless turmoil. What can we do about it? And Merlin's like, but it's the youngest minds who have the greatest potential, and yada yada. Everyone gives Merlin a last hoorah, a last hug, and a goodbye, and then he disappears. And I think, pretty sure the film either ends with all the kids standing together, heroically, nobly, with the new book. Merlin created a new book based on the legend of Alex and his knights and their quest and so forth. Because of course he did, and it was kind of awesome, to be honest. The film either ends with all four of them standing together nobly, or right after the Lady of the Lake takes Excalibur away, or both, and the movie ends. So, that was The Kid Who Would Be King. It's a very, very good film. I'll just give my ranking right now. It's a solid B, and a solid 86% of my book, because for so many reasons. I mean, the comedy was very clever and humorous. Even though I'm not necessarily a master of comedy myself, I still have my own interpretation of interpretive standards, I guess I should say, of how comedy works, should work, and all that. And I guess in one way or another, the comedy of this film really lived up to it and more, because I was laughing my ass off in so many parts of this film, and I can't wait to see it again when the time comes. And the characters were very likable. The bully characters were likable too, though they could have had more development and time than they were given, I felt, especially compared to the top two characters being Alex and Berthers. And I'm sorry, I still can't remember his name right. And Berthers was a very, very encouraging, positive soul. He was a really good best friend character. And Alex was a very likable character, possibly the most likable character out of all of them in the entire film. Like I said before, he goes through these shifts, very believable shifts of how this all plays out. You know, I'm probably not saying that right. Believable shifts as to how he progresses, of how his character progresses, trying to be realist, then accepting destiny, then being mad about these personal things, then accepting destiny again. After all, it's his sword. I love the moment where he takes the sword out of the stone in front of all these people, and they cheer as he literally announces he's going to save Britain or whatever. I was about to say save Camelot. Like, everyone's treating like, hey. Let's see. I really liked Merlin. I like the whole idea of how he wants to. I think he said his teenage form was literally his normal form. Instead of getting older, he gets younger as more time passes by. I thought that was an interesting idea. Though why he would bother taking his old form to begin with, I don't know. Maybe just to show off Patrick Stewart and all. Merlin was very cool. Very bit sporadic. A sporadic characterization in his case, but still likable. Morgana was good and all, but she was probably one of the weakest characters and a weak villain overall. I mean, she was just the standard, oh, I love being dark and evil, and you all suck for being light and good. I'm going to conquer everything, kill everything, whatever. I can't say for sure how, or think too much now on how it could have been done better, but they could have done a lot better with her. She could have been a much more intriguing villain, and especially since the actress herself was really good at performing. I think her name is Rebecca Ferguson, if I'm saying that right, who is an English actress. And I really liked Alex's mother. I thought Alex's mother was very likable, and you really feel for her. Especially since the main character is a kid, and you know, when you take care of people that don't usually realize, especially when it comes to characters in movies, but when you're dealing with a character who has to take care of a kid, take care of their child, it's much more strenuous than taking care of them as a teenager or a young adult, or guiding them as a young adult and all that. I thought that what they did with her played out very well. And I guess one of the other big issues I have, apart from the ridiculously censored action sequences, was, they could have done a lot more with the kid army and stuff. I mean, I guess it would have been inevitable to have the huge battle armies battling not take place until the climax. That probably was inevitable, but the climax itself could have been a lot more extensive, have a lot more variety and so forth. Have the kids come together and do a lot more than what we saw them do overall. It just seemed like a typical Hollywood-esque thing they do with these kinds of concepts. Like, you think there's going to be a lot more, but there's only so much with a kid army and an army of kid knights, which is pretty cool. They could have done more, but they didn't, and I also wish there could have been more characters than just the 4 main characters. I know it's difficult to have a balance between a larger and larger group of supporting characters with the main characters, but I wanted to see more knights than just those 4 even before the climax came around. But overall, this was a really, really solid film, a really, really good film, and who knows, maybe there will be a sequel in the future, or maybe there will be something else with some other sort of series of kid movies with a similar theme of epicness and adventure and so forth. This was directed by a guy who only directed one other movie before, years ago. That was for young adults, I'm pretty sure. And he did a really good job with this movie overall. I can't remember his name at the moment, but I think he was involved with the Transformers movies, among other things, and other movies. But good job, man. Good job. The Kid Who Would Be King is a solid, good film. I hope unfortunately, it has gained like $10 or $11 million at the box office against a $60 million budget. So I hope it becomes a successful enough movie at the box office as the days go on. And I really enjoy this film, and I look forward to seeing it again when I do. Alright guys, thank you so much for spending this time with me as I made my first Spirit vlog about the Kid Who Would Be King, and I look forward to doing many more in the future. The next one I'll probably do is the second Lego movie after I do a What I Remember skit of the Lego movie, the first one. And I had a lot of fun recapping the movie I just saw a couple days ago, and look forward to doing so many more in the future. And I'll probably try to be a bit faster. I think I went like 45 minutes now, but sorry about that. I just tend to dawdle. I'm not as experienced as other YouTubers are with summarizing movies they just saw, and they do a really damn good job, only doing it in like 30, maybe 40 minutes tops. But and in other cases, in regards to special movies, that's when they go much longer. But it's my own journey of trying to make this whole vlog and review thing work out. And yeah, thanks again. Look forward to more Spirit Man and Amateur Masters content in the future. Amateur Masters content from the other universes. This is the Spirit Man, the embracer of human good and analyst of fiction, wishing you all well. See you guys soon. Bye.